Tune in to the Red, White, and Blue Show, where David, Martin, and Nick will blow your mind talking religion, politics, and money too. It's a talk show that's always in prime time. With their unique perspectives and in-depth analysis, they'll keep you informed on the latest news. So join the conversation on the Red, White, and Blue Show with David, Martin, and Nick. Your go-to views.
It's the Red, White and Blue Show. Each and every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Twitter Spaces. You can catch myself, David Polden, Mike Costello and Nick Smith. Sadly, he's a bit absent today and we're supposed to be joined by David Atherton. Hopefully, they will join us shortly. We'll be talking Shamina Begum and we'll be talking about illegal economic migrants and the war on motorists. We've seen like the 15-minute cities and all the ULEZ and all that game that's been popping up everywhere. Nick, I know, went to Oxford to the protest, and I know you did as well, Martin. So hopefully Nick does join us so you guys can enlighten us as to what happened down there. Sadly, I couldn't make that because I had to work. Unlike some people,
someone's got to pay for the migrants, David.
Oh yeah. Right, so I mean, what I think we'll do, we'll just touch on Shamina Begum, shall we, Mike, and then take it from there. And hopefully the lads join us. Like I said, if not, no problem. So you may have seen in the newspaper today, she's been her appeal for a British citizenship has been rejected again. And obviously she's not allowed back into the country. All the lefties are up in arms because obviously they love terrorists, they love paedophiles, they love anybody that hates the country. So obviously they're very upset by this. I'm quite pleased by this decision. I don't think we should be allowing people like that, and we should be making more examples, and setting the bar. What's your opinion on this, Martin? Have you seen the story and what have you made of it so far?
I have. Well, I thought this was all done and dusted ages ago, actually. I didn't know there was an appeal in the wings, but I was absolutely delighted. I mean, there was only one sensible outcome, really. Could you just imagine what would happen if they granted her to come back? The uproar, that would have been the straw that broke the camel's back, I think, allowing that terrorist back into this country. But one thing that has particularly disgusted me about this whole debacle is the BBC giving her a platform and doing a documentary on her, trying to make her look like Mother Teresa, basically. And it's, we should give her a second chance and all this. You just couldn't make it up to the BBC, could you? And once again, it just proves that they are not on our side. They are a dangerous, dangerous corporation. And to all the listeners, you promised me if you do anything, you cancel your goddamn TV license. Otherwise, you're paying for this absolute nonsense. So, a great day.
Yeah. You know what, Martin? I would be surprised, if they offer Shamina Begum a job, like diversity commissioner or something like that.
Yeah.
Lower than a belly snake, and like we said, I mean, it's definitely for the best, and we shouldn't be allowing these sort of people to operate in our country full stop. And if they, apparently, allegedly, there's 26,000 odd extremists on a watch list. Wow. It's virtually impossible to keep an eye on everybody. You can imagine the surveillance, just for just for a couple of people, the money and the manpower. So we can't keep an eye on everybody. So why take the risk?
Exactly. I mean, look, if you're going to allow people like that to come back, where does it end? And that is treachery. I mean, there's a case for her that she didn't know what she was doing when she was younger, but she had plenty of time to come back. There's no remorse whatsoever, and she's probably been mentally damaged in a lot of ways. She's been radicalised. She just will not fit into society here, and she's just absolutely not welcome.
She probably would fit in certain areas of our society, mate. There are plenty of places where she would fit in. And let's be honest. I mean, look at where she came from, Tower Hamlets. We know there were plenty of extremists over there. Her father, for example, was pictured. I don't know if you remember this, but initially when this all the news was breaking, there was pictures of her father at a radical extremist. Muslim extremist rally burning burning the US flag and all that game. So
Wow.
that's the stock that she comes from, and so she's only going to be amongst other extremists when she comes back. And if you remember, I don't know if you remember this. Hopefully, we'll be interviewing this guy, the guy who went out and did an interview with her. He was originally on her side, and after speaking with her, he was dead against her coming back. And Nick's spoken to him a few times about getting him on the show with us. But if you remember, they asked her, did she regret going out there? And initially, she said no.
Wow.
And she said no, she didn't regret it. But obviously, she's been advised by lawyers who I had a run-in with not so long ago on Twitter. I can't remember exactly what I said, but he asked me to elaborate, indicating a civil lawsuit towards me. So I declined to reply.
Wow, that's astonishing. I mean, look, we know why the lefties or Labour are upset, because that's another vote in Tower Hamlets that they can't hand over to the community.
Yes, a candidate. They're a candidate down.
Yeah, especially they got to show photo ID now. So that's the only reason why they're upset about it. But it just goes to show how dangerous the left are, though, thinking that it's that it's acceptable in any way. It's they're a nasty bunch of people, really. But like you said, sadly, she probably would fit into a lot of places in this country. But the treachery there, they need to show a strong hand that this is totally unacceptable. And if they allowed her back in, that would have caused a hell of a storm. So they knew. They probably didn't care, but they knew.
Yeah, but you can imagine what would happen. There'd be uproar, people were up in arms, they'd be kicking off everywhere, and people would be genuinely concerned, and these sort of people into our country, and anyone who protested against it, guess what they would be called?
Far right. Yeah, far right, racist. Yeah.
Same old bullshit. We've seen that. Moving into our other topic about the migrants, we saw that. In Liverpool, didn't we? They referred to them saying the far right are mobilising. If you look, there was women there with prams and buggies. they were like, and Liverpool was probably the most left-leaning city in the UK.
Exactly.
They brand everybody. Yeah, it's that old saying, as we said before, you throw enough shit, some of it will stick, and that's what the left do. They're terrible for identity politics and branding people, this, that, and the other.
I think, David, I think it's gone beyond that now, because people are starting to see through all this. And they are the tide's turning on the mainstream media. We need to remember that. That's why we get people listening to our show, because they'll hear the truth on it. They know the BBC are lying about things when they see the things on the ground for themselves. I mean, what we saw in Liverpool is just a tinderbox of what's coming. And this is what happens if you don't allow people to have a debate about these things or express their concerns. Then it bottles up and does cause genuine extremism, and we don't want that. But unless we can't have a sensible discussion about these things.
Yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it? I know they shut people down, brand people
can't speak their families. We need to have a debate about it. This is what's getting on people's goats. Of course, we don't mind helping people, but you can't help everyone, and you certainly can't help economic migrants who've got no business being here. And that's what's really grating on people now, I think.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, and like what you were just saying, though, literally what happens is they create these problems, don't they? So then people react and respond in violence, because when you take a man's tongue out, the only other way to express himself is with violence, and that's what they want. They want people to react in violence so they can go far right extremism. And they're very clever. They're very calculated. There's a book I've read, which I was telling you to read. It's called The Masters of Deceit, which is written by J. Edgar Hoover, who's the founder of the FBI, and he was it's basically about communism. And the way they work, and they get their tentacles in everywhere. And this book's like from the 50s, and nothing's changed. They still play by the same book and the same rules. We still see the same methods and by the way they work and stuff.
Well, it's like Jaws 1984, isn't it? That wasn't supposed to be a novel, but it's become like a handbook now, isn't it? It's people. It was very visionary. But people don't know in their history. But what you said about these methods that they've used in the past, they're using them again. It's clear to see that. And using these slurs, so we were out in Oxford on Saturday, and we were being labelled fascists for supporting freedom. Yeah. That's how ridiculous it's getting now. It's but
yeah, I did see that. So I was hoping Nick was joining us tonight, because obviously Nick was there as well, and we had Nick was down there. Looks like we've got David Atherton's joined us as well now, so hopefully Gil won't mind joining us on this one. But yeah, I see that with Nick. Nick was down there. He was interviewed by a local journalist, and I see all the Antifa and that calling people fascists. And he's like, I think they've got the wrong protest. He said, we're here protesting the 15-minute cities and for our freedom, and they're here calling us all racist and Nazis and fascists. Yeah, they're completely deluded to left, didn't they? I know I call it left-tardation, but yeah, literally, it's absolutely shocking, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely appalling behaviour. And I'll tell you what, from Oxford on Saturday, I'll say the most common demographic was probably late 50, 60-year-old women, grandmothers and the like. That's why it was such an extreme to see all these ballied up young men, high octane young men, and protesting against like elderly women. Really, it was a clown world. But I'm sure we'll talk about that more when Nick gets on.
Yeah, I mean, we'll crack on with it. So, I mean, what was the turnout like? Was it a big turnout?
Phenomenal. It was much bigger than I thought it was going to be. I mean, there was people as far away from Scotland that turned up there. We got there about an hour before in the main square, and it's filling up really, really quickly. Oxford, Thames Valley Police said there's about 2,000, but other people have estimated more than that. It's really hard to gauge, because someone done some mathematics, because they said in Trafalgar Square you could fit 40,000 people in, apparently, and they've done the mathematics for this place in Oxford, and you're still looking at about 5,000 or 6,000. So it was a massive turnout, very peaceful as well. I bumped into Right Said Fred, had a good chat with them. They were quite interesting. And Lawrence Fox as well was there giving a speech. It was good to see him there. Really well organised. Some great posters and things there. The speeches went on for about an hour. Then after that, we marched around Oxford. And all the support from the shoppers was amazing. And like the taxi drivers were all beeping us, and the bus drivers. It was just such a great atmosphere there, because they all don't want it either. So, we was really warmly received. And like we know, they're trying to set the blueprint for Oxford for the rest of the country. So that's why it's important to stamp it out at that place, so it doesn't go anywhere else, Because if it does come to places like where I live in Swindon, then we'll be, they won't be up for very long, these bollards, I can tell you that for sure. Fantastic.
I mean, that's already happening where I am in South London. There's a lot of, I've seen that recently. I know a few people that are proactively doing it as well. They're going out and they're vandalising these ANPR cameras and stuff. So we've got, a lot of Sadiq Khan's low traffic neighbourhood schemes around here. So you can't cut down a side road. So they're forcing you to drive down the main road. And yeah, lots of people are going out now, and they're just taking, action, and basically just destroying the cameras. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and more people are going to start waking up to the fact that they're losing their freedoms and being forced.
Exactly. I mean, they've caused £70,000 worth of damage to all the bollards already in Oxford. They were installed undemocratically, because they had a vote on all this. The vast majority didn't want it, but they just still went ahead with it anyway. It's like a dictatorship where we're living in. It's like we're going to have it whether we like it or not. But it's like I said, we've got all these cameras popping up there everywhere now. It's a massive surveillance system that they put in place. And that's when a lot of the 5G come in, when they're so quick to put these master things up, because it's all connected. It's all about surveillance and control now. It is literally a digital prison we are living in, and it will come to your town if you allow it to. You have to stand up and say no.
It is a digital prison, and I was saying to you recently, and my dad was telling me he went to insure one of his vehicles, and the insurance company were talking about putting a black box into his vehicle, so they could monitor speed and stuff like that. So that's from an insurance company. He's had a clean license for donkey's years. And that's what they're getting up to. And they've got all these smart cameras now, so they can catch you. So if you've gone down one street and you appear too quick down the other, they know you've been speeding somewhere along the line, you get a speeding ticket. They got the smart speeding cameras. So, in the next few years, if we let them get away with it, it would be, you won't be able to breathe. You won't be able to fart in the wrong direction.
It's true. It's absolutely true. This is what we're headed.
We've got David Atherton on with us. I'd like to, hopefully, if he's all right, to come on. We want to touch on the illegal economic migrants, and he does post a lot of what's been going on with the videos and stuff like that, as you do yourself. I know you just recently got a ban.
I did yesterday. I got a ban because I shared a picture of a migrant bollock naked walking through Glasgow, and his big buttocks were on display. It got shared quite a bit. Next thing I know, Elon Musk is telling me that if I don't take it down, then my account could be restricted. So I had to take it down and have basically a 12-hour ban. But what I've literally just done in the last half hour, I've posted another version of this picture, but I put a nice tartan skirt on the offender. So hopefully that'll keep the libtards happy and not upset the snowflakes from Care for Calorie. So much free speech, eh?
Well, it's crazy what's going on. It's absolutely mental, isn't it? Literally, we're saturated now with these illegal economic migrants. All the hotels around where I live, a lot of them all fully occupied by illegal economic migrants, and we're seeing more and more of these videos coming up with them. Especially a lot of, as I was saying, from David Atherton, I see a lot of what he posts. What's going on? It's absolutely shocking. There's a video I watched he posted recently with a guy in Ireland who was stopped by a citizen there. He was pulled because he was filming some young girl. These are the people we're letting into the country. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they're capable of. We're putting everybody's safety and security at risk for what?
Exactly.
David, if you want to come in and have a chat about that, feel free. Just unmute yourself and join us. So, Martin, I've got a request here from someone. So we'll see if David comes in now, and if not,
can you hear me, guys?
Yeah,
Hi,
can you hear me, David?
Right, okay, well, first of all, for whatever reason, my Microsoft Spaces is quite unstable, so it might collapse on me at any one time. I got a funny feeling some lefty reported me because I normally advertise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and on my PC and my other version of Twitter on my phone, I can listen, but I can't speak. And the other version of Twitter on my mobile, it does seem to work. But anyway, let me quickly say, just bringing up the date on in Dover, those 4 Afghans were accused of raping a schoolgirl, 3 pinned her down and 1 raped her.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. They've been released. No further charges.
Get out of here!
You are joking, man.
Yeah. Did you see the interview with the girls who go to that school? The victim isn't coming back because she's so petrified. The girls demonstrated outside the school and told by the head to move on. So they went to Dover police station to demonstrate about. So there's obviously something's gone on there, and there's the cover-up going on.
What a surprise, eh?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to allege that the girl was raped, and she's either been intimidated or personally doesn't want to get involved. And they've got away with it scot-free. And just to rub everybody's
David.
Seems to lost you there, David.
David, perhaps she was told to keep her mouth shut for the sake of diversity.
Sounds about right, Martin, doesn't it? Yeah, if you can hear us, David, we've lost you for a bit there, mate. But yeah, I mean that's shocking. That story, it doesn't surprise me. it doesn't surprise me in the slightest, and these are the stories that we hear about. Obviously, there are lots of stories where people don't report stuff, and stuff to get swept under the carpet. It's like that with the knife crime around here. We see lots of stabbings going on, but it never makes the news. It's just that's absolutely sickening, and it's
horrendous cover up.
I don't even know what to say about that. How can they close the case so early?
I mean, look, if that's my daughter, there'll be no case closed, that's for sure. We'll be marching back down there. We'll be making sure justice was done. But the fact that, it's set this precedence now, other migrants will see this and think it's perfectly fine. But we're hearing about sexual assaults all over the place, even in my hometown of Swindon this last weekend. It was the local police put out a report because somebody exposed himself, and people would say the first thing you need to do is go to the hotels because we are swamped with these migrants who live in these hotels. And of course, they're probably a lot of horny young men. Let's be honest. Most of them in their 20s and stuff. They're gonna have needs and stuff, and this is what's happening now. And in some of these cultures, it's perfectly acceptable to behave like this. And that's why we need to understand there's a cultural difference as well. They're not going to integrate into our society. And that's where we're seeing these things happen, David.
This is it. This is the problem, isn't it, Martin? And we're taking people from different cultures, different backgrounds, and then trying to get them to fit into our society without, as the old saying about immigration without assimilation isn't immigration, it's an invasion. It's like trying to put a square peg into a round hole. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. So we're going to see more and more of these problems as time goes on. And more of these issues, and more people are going to get angry. And the more people get silenced, and these sort of stories get swept under the carpet, the more people become frustrated and they're angry, and then we'll see people, turn to violence eventually. And that's what they want, so they can say, "Oh, look, the far right," but it's heading down that way. There's not much we can do about it.
We need to get rid of that notion, I think, of left and right. I think that's really important, that label, because that is just a sphere now. I honestly believe left and right no longer exist. It's between good and evil. Because when the people say far right, because it's smear, they think, oh, they're football hooligans, they're Nazis, this, that, and the other. But, we're talking about people here that come in to rape our children. What the hell are they then? If that's not what they deem as being nasty in that sort of way. These labels have got to be removed now. It's literally between good and evil. And our highest priority, and of any nation really, is to be able to protect the children of our nation. If we can't protect our children, then we've failed seriously. And that girl in Dover was failed seriously, like they've been failed seriously up and down the country for far too long now, because they've told people to keep their mouths shut for the sake of diversity.
I think David's back now, join us hopefully. He's connecting. He's showing he's back now, so hopefully.
Sure. Yeah, it might crash any time. So I'll just, I've rebooted my phone, so hopefully it might last a little bit longer. But to finish up on the story about the woman who was the girl who was allegedly raped in Dover, Astor School. Apparently, one of the girls said something along the lines of they had a morning assembly where the girls were advised how to deal with and dress in front of the 4 Afghan boys at the school.
Jesus wept. That is astonishing.
You could see the girls were genuinely distressed and worried about these 4 Afghan boys. Something happened there. It might not have been a rape. It might have been something else. But and they're living in fear for those 4 pieces of shit that are going to their school. And the head turns round, and.
Don't mix your words, David.
I'll tell you what, actually, though, because again, though, it's the schools and the teachers, the lefty Marxist teachers that are indoctrinating our kids as well behind it, by the sounds of it. Probably telling those girls that they're racist for saying such a thing. This is where the problem lies. Our whole education system as well. It's been totally infiltrated.
Looks like we've partially lost David again. If you can hear us, David, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you can reconnect with us. He's having a bit of a hard time with that. But that, I mean, Martin, you know, as you said, that's I don't even know what to say. There's no words for that, is there? That's just, you know, the police have dropped the case and the school are telling them how to dress and behave in front of, you know, these illegal economic migrants. It should be the other way around.
The dad should be marching down there big time.
Well, Martin,
this.
Unfortunately, that's the sort of behaviour what they want. That's what we're going to see, you know, because obviously, you know, if that was your daughter, are you going to go down there, you know, and probably, you know, do something that you might later regret, shall we say? And you know, that person's no longer going to exist. It's yeah.
And we know there's a big protest coming up in Dover soon. I think is it this Saturday or the following against the illegal invasion. So obviously there's going to be high tensions down in that part of the country soon as well. So it's just these tinderboxes that are just waiting to erupt, aren't they? We know it's been coming for ages now, and I doubt our forces will be prepared for it at all. Really, when it really does kick off, you know, we're literally on a knife edge at the moment.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's got so serious. It's that bad because even the mainstream media got to start talking about these things. They normally just brush it under the carpet, as we know that they've done for years. But it's got so bad now. We're on the preference here of something. It's just about to. It just feels like that bottle's just about to explode. You know.
We've got a request. He's been waiting for a while. Got Shivank here that says he's from India. I've just checked out his profile and had a look. He wants to have a word. So hopefully I'll accept the request and see if he wants to come in. So if you want to, we'll give him a go.
Shivank. Hi, Shivank. Oh, I think you scared him off.
He's still there. Oh, he's on, yeah.
Wow, that's a shame. It'd have been interesting to hear actually of what Shivank had to say actually, because interesting enough, I actually posted a video. People look at my Twitter page now. I think it's about. I posted it yesterday. There was a chap actually who came from India. He was here for 10 days. 10 days before he was captured by a paedophile hunting team. Trying to meet a 12-year-old girl. Because
and this is why I wanted to talk to David Atherton tonight about this, because he posts a lot of these videos and we see that, and it's astonishing, isn't it? You know, they're literally here just days, and then you know they end up doing stuff like this. You know, you can't. There's no way it can be justified.
They don't have respect for women like we do, because that's just who they are.
Martin, they're living the life of Riley, mate. They're coming over here on a dinghy, and when they arrive, they're getting put up in a 4-star hotel. All their meals are paid for, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and they've got a nice, lovely room, and you know they've got heating. They haven't got to worry about the cost of living crisis. All the bills are being paid for, and plus they're getting benefits. They're going out, and I know people, as you know, I'm in the security industry. I know people that go out and they work in these hotels where they are, and they see what they get up to, which I won't go back into. We've already spoken about before. You know, they're living the life of Riley. And they
certainly are
for free,
and they sack all the hotel staff as well and employ like the migrants to work there, like the security and all the rest of it, like they've done in Swindon.
I need to round them all up and send them back to France. That's what I need to do. It's just getting ridiculous now. Too many keep coming over, and we're paying for it, and it's getting out of hand. So just need to stop it and take action. If there's any listeners. Sorry, Martin. If there's any listeners on here who want to, you know, stick your oar in, you want to put your 2 pence in, don't be frightened to. Just put a request in, and you know you can have a chat as well. Sorry, Martin.
I was going to say the worst thing is though the fact like the Border Force and the RNLI, who are always begging for money at Christmas time with their propaganda leaflets, are going out there and aiding and abetting it all as well. Can you believe it? They actually go out there to pick them up and bring them back. They actually arranged to meet them out there. It's all coordinated. This going on is, you know, like I said, is a great invasion. It's astonishing. Like the first thing I'd be doing, I'd put the Royal Navy out there.
It's not an debate. It's more simpler, should I say, not complicated, more simpler than that, Martin. But the idea is what's happening is the globalists who want, you know, a one world bank, one world government, one world this, that, the other. The idea is what you do is to get everybody on board, they flood all the countries with people from all around the world, and you basically become the United Nations. And then where does their loyalties lie? So once you dilute down, the national identity, essentially there is no country. Once the national identity is gone, there's no country, and that's what this is all about. It's literally, without us firing a single shot, they're literally taking over the countries, and then countries would then become mere provinces. We seen what the EU were trying to do. Do you know what I mean? The countries are all states, and we saw what they did with the Schengen Agreement movement, and then we seen what the bigger picture is all about. We already know what it's all about, and sadly, we never got Brexit. We never left. We're still tied into all EU rules and regulations and legislation. They've got absolutely no intentions of setting us free from the EU or their globalism. And sadly, I think I can't see a way out of it. I think Ireland, they've still got their community spirit there, and that's why we're seeing a lot of protests in Ireland and Liverpool as well. They still got their community spirit. But if you look at London, you don't even know your next door neighbour's name in London anymore. Do you know what I mean? The community spirit's gone. So I think it's too late in some places.
You've absolutely smashed it on the head there. You really have. It's all about the dilution of our culture and our society. Even if you look right back to, the destruction of Christianity and all these different things, they've broken everything down. They tried to break the family unit down with all this LGBT stuff and all the rest of it. Every part of us, of our Western culture that we've had, they're destroying piece by piece, like you said, with this globalist agenda, because they want everyone to ultimately be the same to control. And let's face it, a new world order. That's ultimately what they're after. So I guess you're right. We shouldn't really be looking at the boats themselves as such. It's the bigger picture of what's going on. That's the biggest concern that we've got at the moment. And we're seeing it accelerated at a pace that has never happened in history before, primarily because of that Brexit referendum, I believe, as well. I think that opened up a can of worms, and everything's accelerated since then. And we've had a massive attack.
Yeah,
and this country's unrecognisable. Tony Blair as well. I hate to swear on this podcast, but Tony Blair was a huge part of that.
Well, you didn't swear, so I'll swear for you. He's the biggest wanker in to come from the country. I've been on jobs where I won't say too much. I'm in the spirit industry, but I've been on jobs when he's been there, and I've looked at him and thought I'd love to chin him. He's got to remain professional, but he's probably the most hated man in the country, if not the planet. What he's done in the Middle East and what he's done to our country, and his bum boy, old what's his name, old Campbell.
Alistair Campbell, yeah. They really do need to be brought to justice, these people. We've got a warmonger there. And along with the likes of Bill Gates, these people as well, pulling the strings, all these kind of people, they're all been there attacking our country. They pretend to care, but they obviously don't. And particularly Blair, all that blood on his hands, causing all that destruction out in the Middle East. And then he somehow becomes the Middle East peace envoy. I mean, that was the most ridiculous
the irony in that
ever.
Is unreal, isn't it?
That's like sending in an arsonist to put out a fire. Absolutely appalling.
Right,
hi there.
We've got someone coming in to speak.
Hi, it's Louise.
Hi.
I agree with everything you're saying as well. It's just really frightening and really worrying just to watch and see every day. And I keep wondering, I don't know what's going to happen, but they must have a plan of where they're going to put all these illegal migrants when they move them out of the hotels. I just don't know where they're going to go. They must have some plan or something ready. I've
heard a few theories on that. Obviously, there are only theories. It's anyone's guess, but we can talk about theories because they could potentially happen. There's potential to happen if there's martial law put over here. They could be equipped as UN soldiers.
Oh God,
that's quite feasible. Because let's look at them. They're all young males, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're all fit as well. Like the ones in Swindon, they're really well dressed, well groomed. and they're all in good shape. So that's not totally unfeasible. They talk also of perhaps there's a big depopulation program underway. So these people could fill other gaps, perhaps in workforce or something.
Yeah.
There's many different options, but that's my question to them as well, though. What is the long-term plan for these people? Because you can't have all these males here.
No, it just doesn't add up. No, I know. And the more I keep seeing, I mean, I know there's a lot on here, I think a lot of Indian people listening as well. It's like our whole culture, like you were saying, is being wiped out. We're an island and we're taking so many, and the government are just destroying us. They're just destroying everything, and it's so sad, and we can't do anything about it. That's the worst thing. I mean, like you said, the Irish are really trying to stand up to it, but some of these men and these with the children, I mean, I just don't get it. It's they're just left alone and they can get away with everything they're doing. I don't know.
And the police force as well, they're too scared to be called racist or something, aren't they? If they tackle these things, like we saw within Rotherham and places like that, they weren't allowed to investigate these things.
Yeah.
When it was preliminary, like one sort of culture doing it.
Yeah.
And they were left to do their devices like that because, you know, the whole attack's been on all institutions as well. Like I said, the schools and the police force. Our army's been depleted completely. This doesn't just happen. This has been going on for slowly over a few decades now, and now we're seeing the consequences of that. And that's really what's behind destroying our culture. But do you have these hotels in your area?
Yes, there's quite a few actually. I am actually down near Dover, and I have seen quite a few of them. And there's you've got quite a few in Folkestone, and it's the security guards that make me laugh, or whatever they're supposed to be. Just standing there as if, you know, I don't know what they're supposed to be guarding. Like you said, all these young males. It's dressed all weird. And when I've seen quite a few of these guys walking down the streets as well, and you can feel quite intimidated by them as a woman. You're not quite sure where to look, but a lot of them do divert their eyes because they're not confident enough yet. But I mean, they're getting so much money off of us. They'll be having driving lessons next, and their confidence is going to grow, and that's when we're going to have trouble.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
What concerns me.
We've got a comment here from Nana Grumpy. She's saying, you know, we're not far right. We're concerned parents and concerned grandparents. You know, and that's the thing here, isn't it? You know, people are genuinely, you know, have genuine concerns about what's going on, and they're being branded far right.
Yeah.
It's not. I was just looking at your profile there, Louise, to see there's a video you've posted of a guy in Ireland having a Tommy tank next to a bus stop. How culturally enriching is that, eh?
Oh God, that's all I keep seeing. I'm thinking, what is this? Are they all like? They've all got mental health.
Dogs on heat, aren't they?
David Atherton posted one about some young girl. She's having something at a dentist, wasn't she? She has work experience there or something. And one of them come in, rubbing himself up against patients, and went outside and proceeded to masturbate over one of the clients' cars. Yeah. Absolutely appalling behaviour.
You see, years ago, men in those days would have got hold of someone like that and flattened him.
Yeah, I mean, we're still seeing that in Ireland. That's still going on there in Ireland. I've seen a few videos of that. You probably have as well. But that's because they've still got their community spirit.
Yes.
You know, and that's all been lost in most areas. I mean, I live in London. That's, as I was saying earlier, you know, you're lucky if you know your neighbour's name. That's all been broken down. That's why they're getting a free run in most cities in the UK. But in Ireland, you see them getting an ironing. So you're spot on there.
Yeah, I do like that. I must admit, whether I'm supposed to or not, I don't know. But I
Yeah,
like.
but the thing is, though, we should rely on our own police, though, to deal with these things. But because now diversity has destroyed the police, because they've got to have a certain quota of each sort of person. It would
Yeah.
surprise me. They'll probably send someone to a burglary with a wheelchair or something next just to tick a box.
Yeah.
Let's face it. When you want to see a police person who just been burgled, you want to see some big burly blokes, don't you?
Yeah.
You don't want to see some tiny women turn up who are no use whatsoever.
No.
But that's how they've destroyed the police service as well. And if they're not doing that, they're out waving their LGBT flags at a Pride festival or something.
Yeah.
It's been completely destroyed by Marxism.
Yeah.
These institutions, like the whole school system has. So they've weakened all these people. The men aren't masculine men anymore. They're weak people. Then you call them a horrible name, they'll probably start crying or something rather than lash out.
Yeah.
And this is a part of the whole attack as well on our culture.
Yeah.
The real men need to stand up now and fight. Or
Yeah.
be
It's
there,
like- it's
stand
like
up for our
that,
children's future.
Yeah.
Martin, do you remember that copper? Was it Amjad Dittar or something? I think his name was. I think it was in Yorkshire, and he was like the poster boy for diversity within the Yorkshire Police Force. And it turned out he was a grooming gang member. He was raping girls.
God.
Yeah.
And the
What
thing
has
is,
the country come to?
yeah, and I mean the thing is, most of us British people, we've been brought up not to be racist. And what this is doing is making us hate certain people now, and we are not racist. We never were. We accepted a lot of different countries in Britain, and we accepted them as long as they did what we did and abided by our rules. But it's the same, isn't it? It's like putting a Christian church up in a Muslim country. Why have we got all these mosques everywhere all of a sudden just taking over? Like
a Christian church would last 2 seconds out somewhere like that.
No.
But we'd respect their local laws and customs though. If that's who they are, then that's great. If people want to be like that, then live there and live like that.
Yes.
But you don't go around to your neighbour's house or something and start rearranging their furniture, do you?
No.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, when in Rome, live as the Romans do.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we'll have to call it there. But thanks for joining us, Louise, and a big thank you to David Atherton as well, and yourself, Martin. And this obviously will be uploaded on YouTube at some point, and the links will be shared out for that. Okay. So thanks for listening, guys, and thanks for joining us. Cheers, Martin.
Take care.
Bye.